Alumni. And we have Margaret McNair, who is a managing attorney. So first we want you guys to do introductions, how, like, what do you do and how did you really get into that career?
Well, good morning, everyone.
I wanted to say before we even start, though, Kanisha, I didn't know that you were working for the district attorney's office. I used to be a deputy district attorney.
Nice.
That's how I started my career. So that just it tells you, folks, in the law, there's a lot of different paths. But go ahead, Kanisha. I was so surprised.
Oh, yes, ma'am. So, good morning, everyone. My name is kenisha.day. I am an assistant district attorney, prosecutor in Harris County, Texas. So I am on afternoon time, but originally from Los Angeles, California. I did go to King Drew and graduate in 2006. So yes, happy to be here. The question was, why did I choose this career as an attorney, specifically criminal law? So my father was actually incarcerated when I was 7, and he was in federal prison. And from there up until the time that my younger brother went to prison, which was 4 days after graduating from King Drew, I decided that I wanted to learn more about law, wanted to learn more about the process of just knowing my rights and being able to help not just my family, but myself and community members. And there's a lot that's involved with law. There's so many different types. You don't have to get involved in criminal law, but that's what called me to this career family.
Yeah, as Kanisha said, there are so many types of law. I know a lot of you are interested in medicine, but trust me, that hospital has a bunch of attorneys, and those doctors need those attorneys for malpractice. And what I do right now is special education law. And we have a lot of interface with the medical community. Sometimes kids with special education needs don't get the services that they need. And then that's where we come in. I decided to do that type of law just because I just noticed we weren't getting what we needed as a community educationally. I went to Crenshaw High School and I went to UCLA. And when I graduated from law school, I decided to be a deputy district attorney. You know, you can be all about the community and you can be all about justice, but still want to be a district attorney because this is where the power is. So a lot of times, there's something you might be thinking, no, that's not for me. I'm for, doing right by people and all of that. You got to get in positions of power. And that district attorney gets to make those criminal justice decisions. So I really enjoyed that, but I'm also loving what I do right now in special education law.
Wow, thank you for those answers. I really like those. I also thought it was really cool how Miss McNair, your career kind of goes back to helping kids, which is I think that's really cool that you can think of, oh, I like you know things involving children, so maybe I can go back and have a career choice that doesn't directly involve children, but also involves helping them. I think
You
that's
know,
really
I used to teach elementary school too. I taught at a Catholic elementary school and then I taught at LAUSD schools. And I think that's another message too is sometimes your interests kind of, turn into something else. But if you do well and you excel at each stage, then it prepares you. It prepares you for the next thing.
Absolutely. I taught 8th grade. That's why it's funny you said that, Margaret. I taught 8th grade English language arts for 2 years with this program called Teach for America. And
Sure.
yep. And I saw firsthand how important it was for teachers to be aware of the needs of special education students with their IEP plans that sometimes aren't implemented, which ultimately affects them. So law is everywhere. And just because you choose law doesn't mean you have to stay in there. You can go into teaching. You can start off in a completely different career and then go into it. So
one of my daughters went to law school and she was working for us. Right now, she's just interested in doing something else. So she's applied to real estate folks in real estate, entertainment law, sports law, it's everywhere. And it's an exciting field, exciting field.
Wow, that's really cool to hear from both of you. I'm really happy that you got to add that in because I feel like a lot of kids at King Drew kind of had the same, I want to do something, but it's not directly correlated to my interests. So, I think that's really cool. So my next question would be, was your current career, your dream career in high school? And if not, when did you start to see your career as something that you should pursue?
I thought I wanted to go to medical school. And I thought I wanted to go to medical school because I wanted to help people and I wanted to make money. And that just seemed the way to go. Got to UCLA, took this chemistry class, withdrew from the chemistry class. I was like, you know what? There's a lot of things I'm good at. Why am I trying to do the very thing I don't really have an aptitude for? So I ended up being a history major. That just came naturally to me. I think of history as gossip. And so for me, it's just interesting. I like to get the scoop on all these folks. And then I taught. But then I kept thinking, sheesh, I like to argue back and forth. I like to talk. I can see all different sides of an issue. Maybe law school. And it really was like that, just trying stuff and trying to do the best I could at each stage, but trying stuff.
absolutely. As y'all know, I attended King Drew Medical Magnet High School, so I thought I wanted to be a doctor. So 11th grade, we had the hospital rotation, and my very first rotation was labor and delivery. And so a few weeks, we didn't see anything. We were just changing clothes and just talking at the desk. And then we had a C-section of twins, and I saw them pull out this really long needle and get ready to perform a C-section or cesarean section. And I said, this is not for me. I don't want to learn this stuff. No. So after that, I did get involved in mock trial at King Drew. And from there, and at the time it was Mr. Wood was my history teacher. And I thought law was interesting, especially given my background with my father being incarcerated at that time. So then after graduating, I just really got interested. Before going to UC Santa Barbara, I was really interested in just learning my constitutional rights, and I wanted to major in something that would get me to law school then. And so I originally majored in political science, and I did really well. And then I took like an international politics class, and it was just the most boring thing I had ever had to endure. And so after that, I switched to English because I really loved reading, writing, interpreting different language. I like 18th century British literature, a whole lot of Shakespeare. And that's how I became where I am now.
Kenisha, you said something that I think is just really important for the students. Now in college, they want you to choose that major so quickly. And if you switch your major, beginning of your junior year, you're going to have to stay another year or two. However, earlier rather than later, just smart to know. Really think about it and ask yourself if you're enjoying your classes. That's the thing, because Kenisha, took an English class and I love to read, but the analysis, I felt like they were picking everything apart and I didn't want to do that for 4 years. So it's one thing to say, oh, I want to be this major or that major. you're going to be living this for the 4 years. And it's more important for you to do something that you can really get into and excel in than it is for you to get into a field that is supposedly the hot field or whatever. I really can't stress enough. It's got to line up with your aptitudes and your talents, and doing well and getting good grades is really going to trump whatever the specific major was.
Oh, absolutely.
You got to get those. You got to get those grades.
So thank you guys for sharing a bit of your journey with us. Could you guys tell us what a general salary for someone in your position and career looks like?
You know, it really depends. So, for example, in my work, special education law, kind of public interest law, it's going to be a little lower salary point because that's the way our society is. So if you're at the top of your game in public interest law, I would say about $180,000 to $220,000. If you're going into, you know, corporate law, if you're going to be a litigator, then you can be making $500,000, you know, a year more. You can be making $500,000 on a single case. So, but again, what's your day looking like? Do you want to work those 80 hours? I was, when I became a grandma, I was able to say, oh, you know what? I want to be able to watch my grandbaby 3 times a week during work hours and have that flexibility. So it's still a good living, but compared to other attorneys in other fields, how are you going to feel? I feel fine making the salary I do. I feel great and I feel blessed. But you can make more if, depending on the type of law you go into. Kenisha, did you have any thoughts about that?
Same thing. It really just depends on what type of law you're in. So prior to becoming a prosecutor, I did criminal defense and family law. And so in doing that, you make what I guess the phrase is, you eat what you kill. So if you're not constantly contacting your clients or following up on any payments or retainer or anything like that, you're probably not going to get paid. So you have to work a lot harder. So where I'm happy with my salary here now, but starting out, it was probably about $68,000. And then it can go up to like 180. I think they cap it out once you're a felony chief. But
I have to say, my daughter, when she was in law school, interviewed with one of these law firms that, you know, someday she would be making 400, 500, you know, all of these things. You're billing at about $400 and something an hour. And so, yeah. But the woman who was showing her around said, oh yes, at our firm, you can have it all. You can have children. You can have, you know, I went to my son's baseball game and I was just able to work last night until midnight. You know, like that's a good thing. Oh, our job's so flexible that you can come home and work till midnight. And that's, you know, it's again, this is your life. And I want to just say something that has nothing to do with careers, but it does have to do with your life. And it kind of has to do with just your money. The amount of money is less important than you being savvy and being wise and being a good steward of that money. Because Kenisha will tell you, we know people who have things that don't make as much as some folks who got nothing because they were not smart. So for you to develop financial literacy now, I think is actually more important than how much money you're going to be making.
absolutely. I have coworkers now that spend all their money on cars and rent and going out versus actually saving and just being diligent, paying off whatever bills are there. I'm sure y'all are probably going to learn about debt to income ratio, but just a brief lesson on that. So your debts are just your credit cards, bills, whatever. And then your income is obviously any salary that comes in. So if your debts are higher than your income, you're going to always be stuck. And that's what you don't want to do.
Right.
Save your, and with going into public interest, because I don't think we mentioned that as well, there is some sort of like government assistance after the fact. I think you have to have 10 years in that public interest work. So whether it's working at like a public defender's office, doing an AmeriCorps program, or the district attorney's office, they can, the government will forgive whatever student loans you have after a 10-year period, but there's a lot of like caveats to that. So they don't make it clear.
And, just in terms of reducing your debt, you can try some things that other people aren't doing. And I know my daughter decided she was going to go to law school at night. She went to a great law school. She went to Loyola, and they have a day program and they have a night program. And she went to the night program so that she could spread it out, so that she could work some during the day and she could graduate with not as much debt. So you have to run your own race and be smart about it. And, that's a big deal. And whatever you can do to reduce that, that's a good thing.
Okay, thank you so much for all that. It really gave me a lot of insight onto how much I would be making, because I do want to go into like the law field. I had some questions about like going back to the majors. What majors do you suggest for somebody that wants to go into law other than political science? Because like political science is the traditional major you go into, but do you have any other ones that you could go into if you're not really interested in politics?
Well, you can major in anything. I majored in English, and a double majored in English and sociology. English because I really loved reading. Sociology because I felt like it was, sociology is the study of people, cultures, and I thought it would help me in my field. But there are people who, a lot of people who I know that are attorneys, they did major in history, English. We have a few folks that did like buddies that did like African American studies or Black studies, Chicano, Latino, or Latinx, I think they're calling the major now at the universities. So you can major in just about anything. It's really going back to what Margaret was saying. It's about your grades, and so if you don't have the grades in oceanography or your oceanography major, then it really doesn't matter if you have all A's or like a 3.5 or something GPA in oceanography. They take that into consideration, especially because there's law, like maritime law, for example, that would really benefit for someone from someone who is an oceanographer.
When I was in law school, I got to sit on this student panel, and we would do some screening of the applications, of the law school applications. And people used to out and out drool over these applications where the applicants had majored in the hard sciences. I mean, you could even get away with a slightly lower GPA if you had been a bio major, because folks understood that it was very rigorous, extremely rigorous. And I think, to be honest with you, people were a little impressed by something that, a lot of lawyers wouldn't be excelling in. But so the answer is absolutely anything. And for sure, do not major in something like criminal justice because you think that that is the way to law school. It is not. It is good grades in whatever your field is. And then before you have to take that LSAT test, see if you can get a course, take a course so that you can get that score up. That's it.
Okay, thank you for that. I was wondering what did your career look like before COVID and after, specifically in the courtroom?
Kenisha, that's for you. That's had to.
Yeah. So before COVID, actually, so in the middle of COVID, I received a promotion. So originally, I was what we call a felony 3 prosecutor. So I prosecuted all felonies that just weren't murders or sex assaults, but I did everything else. And so prior to COVID, I was in court every day from 8:30 until about 1. And then Fridays we would do jury trials. I was in trial every week. Every Friday we picked a jury, and then we'd probably end trial either Tuesday or Wednesday. And sometimes our judge would want a trial on Wednesday to finish by Friday, or we just wait until Friday for the a new set of trials. So before COVID, life was just trial and what we call our daily docket. So that's when people come into court to discuss their cases, work out offers, complain to the judge about not receiving evidence, or we're discussing motions that were filed. Since then, we have been all online with Zoom court, and Zoom court is really interesting because we're actually seeing less of the attorneys and more of the accused folks. So we see like their kids who will jump in the middle of the video, or just them at work. So that's been pretty interesting, but I prefer, so there are some things I do like about Zoom court that I don't like. So daily court, you get more trial experience. You have more opportunities to have conversations with the judges, more opportunities to observe other attorneys in trial, which I think is important for getting trial experience. And you're able to actually speak with the attorneys in court. So now that we're in COVID protocols at work, there are a lot more bond violation reports that we have. So bond violations are where someone already has a pending case in court, and then they either don't show up to Zoom court, or they don't report to their officer or anything. They can pick up a new case. So we have a lot more of those that take a lot longer to address. And then, but now we are able to actually contact witnesses all the time, because now I'm not in trial every week calling people on Sundays. So it's, I don't know, there's some benefits and drawbacks to both. I preferred in person because I like trial, I like the trial experience. But now that I'm not in trial, I actually like just responding to emails. It's a lot easier.
You know, Kenisha will tell you that the overwhelming majority of attorneys don't do trials. They will have spent their entire practice doing whatever they do, but without a single trial. So that's very unusual. In fact, some law firms will have their attorneys do kind of internships with prosecutors' offices or with public defenders' office, so they can get some trial experience. So it's kind of a cool thing to be able to do a trial, and it's not typical. I haven't liked a single thing about COVID. It's been awful. Our kids, our special education kids with special needs, they have not been doing well with distance learning. And our parents so often seem to think it's their fault. They blame themselves. They check out. They stop even having their kids do distance learning. And then I guess they're just waiting for schools to resume. So it's been hard for us. We've had to really try to get the word out. Yes, the district is still responsible for your child's special education needs. And if distance learning isn't working, then the district owes your child something that will compensate. So, whether it's one-on-one tutoring, and that's been pretty common for us to get for our clients during this period, but it's just been hard. And yuck. Anything else?
Okay. I got one more question about like your workplace. So how do you maintain good relationships with your coworkers and your clients specifically?
Even before COVID, our special education law firm is not in a regular office. All of our attorneys were working from home. We would go and meet our clients at McDonald's. We'd meet them at Starbucks. We'd go to their house because a lot of our clients were very low income and did not have transportation. A lot of our clients also are intimidated by attorneys, and they got referred by their social worker, and their social worker is making them do it, you know? So we've always been able to just try to keep it low key as possible. COVID's made that difficult. So we're doing a lot of texting instead of calling, texting, again, trying to keep it just very casual, try to keep it very relaxed. We've been doing a lot of hearing on our clients' behalf because a lot of our clients don't have access to internet, or they feel intimidated by the whole Zoom meeting process. And so the client thing has been kind of challenging. We've just had to work harder. And then for our attorneys, just the other day, we had a Zoom gathering for all of our attorneys where we did mental health. We were just talking about relaxation and going into breakout rooms and talking about stressors and all of that. So we've been working hard, and we think that the question's an important one. You have to maintain the relationships. It's so key. It's so important.
Absolutely. At my office, we, before COVID, we constantly worked with each other just on how to resolve cases, how to prep for trial, how to speak to a complaining witness, how we complained about officers, we complained about witnesses, judges. So we were very close knit. And then with COVID hitting, now I'm a misdemeanor chief now, so we're in a text chain, so we're able to communicate that way. There's a lot less communication, a lot less face-to-face stuff or conversations being had unless we go into the office. So again, I am in Houston, Texas, and Texas is open. And so there at one point was a mandate for us to go into the office 2 days a week. And I chose not to do that, and I wasn't reprimanded at all, but I know some people prefer to go in. I'd rather not, even if we have our own office, it's just personal for me. I'd rather not go in with everything going on. But on the days that I did have to go in, I did have conversations with coworkers, and we engaged in the same conversations we did prior to COVID. It was just a lot with our mask and a lot shorter. We would spend a lot of time just talking and then have to get back to work. So.
I think when I worked in the DA's office, it was one of the most fun and collegial work environments that I was in. Your door, you might as well just keep it open. People are always going to be coming in there and sitting down, even though you're in court and there's a chair, you're at counsel table, there's a chair next to you. A colleague will come and sit next to you right there at counsel table and talk about, their case or that police officer or that judge. And it's just a cool work environment. And that's something to really be mindful of, y'all. Who are you going to be working with? And again, what's it going to feel like every day? I'm having a hard time hearing.
If it's going in and out.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, it's my camera. But my next question was, what key points would you like students to take away from your presentation?
Well, there's a couple. It's doable. That's the primary thing I think you all should know. All of this is doable. And there's so many times, and I'll speak for myself, where I did want to quit. I thought it was hard. Law school was really difficult for me because I didn't know how to study for for the actual law school class and how to prep for the how to write for the test for law school, which is very different from how you're studying for high school versus how you will study in college, versus just everyday life. So there were so many times I wanted to quit. So many times I ran into obstacles, whether that was with family, just mental health, anything. But it's so important to be resilient. We did it. Y'all can do it. It is. And I say this, and Margaret, you can agree or disagree, but the dumbest people I've ever met in my life were people who I went to law school with. These people were and dumb in the sense that they may have recognized and could identify the legal issues through a book, but just actual application for what a case may say or what precedent might mean. They just lack those skills. So it's doable.
Mm-hmm. It is doable. And I just think it's so key to just do the next step. Just do the next thing in front of you and not be intimidated by what you think you're seeing. Because a lot of people have a game face. A lot of people are putting on front. My first day at undergrad at UCLA, I went up to the professor. I think about it now, he must have thought I was crazy. And I asked him, how do you take notes? Because I had never taken a note in my life. And I saw everybody taking notes. And I didn't know what I was supposed to be writing down on the paper. My daughter, who went to law school, she used to give me one of her briefs. She said, I briefed this case, Mom, would you look at it? And I'd say, girl, I can't tell you what I'm seeing because I didn't do that in law school. I didn't know to do that. But, I worked it out anyway. That's okay. You don't have to do it the same way everybody else does. And some folks maybe seem to have an easier time, but all of it goes into your perseverance, your resilience, and it goes to your benefit. And so don't worry, don't look to the left, don't look to the right, unless it's inspiring you and building you up. But anything that's bringing you down, then you need to be looking away from that. And any negativity, you just don't need it. But there's so much out there for you guys. I just want you to believe that and believe in yourselves and know that you're building a life for yourself. It's not just a career. This is a life, and it's a holistic process. So it's not just think about your career, think about your life. Who do you want to be?
Thank you guys for those answers. I really like those because specifically, I know that King Drew is we have a very like college going culture. And so a lot of times that can be intimidating to a lot of our students because it's like, oh, you have to do what you need to do to get there. So I like that whole mindset of taking the steps to get there. So my next question would be, what specifically encouraged you to give your presentation to King Drew students?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I went to King Drew and I didn't know any attorney other than my my dad's attorney, my brother's attorney. I didn't know any attorneys in person, and I think that's so important for y'all to actually see someone who I was there just a few 2006, so a couple of years ago. I was there and I didn't know any lawyers. I watched like Living Single and I saw Maxine Shaw, attorney at law, but actually seeing someone, knowing someone and hearing their journey, I think that's so important to know that it's something it's a career that's tangible. Someone I think had asked like how long law school takes, and that was a question even applying to law school, I knew by then, but I didn't know how long law school was. But law school is 3 years and 4 years of undergrad. So I guess it's about 7 years of study, but it can take longer if you do like the night program or if you pace yourself. So yeah, I thought it would be important to let y'all know that there's someone who's been there and can get to what y'all might be aspiring to do with law.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I'll talk to any group of young people, and I'm so happy to do that. And again, it's coming from I wish I'd had access to people in the professions, so that I didn't have that sense that I was starting from scratch. There's just sometimes some insider knowledge you don't get, and we want to be that for you guys. So yeah, that's why I'm here.
So thank you guys for taking time out of your day to obviously come and inform us. The following two questions are for Miss Day because she's an alum. Our first question is, did KD prepare you for the career and major you are taking a part in? If so, how?
Yes, in a couple of ways. So like really awesome teachers helped me to be a better student in school. I did have Miss Cooper for AP Environmental Science. so I yes, so I was prepared in that way. Also with organization, I modeled my college, I guess, after like the school schedule and note taking. Mental health was also really big then, probably not as big as it is now, but I did have teachers and a counselor that I could talk to. And it's important for my career because I see a lot of things that can really be draining and exhausting. So you see uh, there's been everything, assault pictures, and it can get really graphic, and not knowing how to just handle that. I've seen a lot of coworkers who have quit just because they couldn't handle the organization and time management skills that are required. And Kendra really prepared me for the real world in that way. Well, in several ways, but time management, oratorical skills too. I don't know if y'all are doing a lot of group projects, but probably not with COVID. But we did do a lot of group projects in school, and it's always that one person who does everything. And I would be that person sometimes. So like even now, I know how to play every role, but also know how to take and not just like learn how to trust my colleagues when preparing for trials too, because sometimes we don't do trials all by ourselves. We can do them with another person, but just being able to learn different pieces that we need. Sorry, I got a little distracted, but yeah, there's a lot of ways King Drew prepared me. Those are the ones.
Thank you so much. Our next question is, can you share one memorable, good or bad moment from your career or life after leaving King Drew?
Oh, they're good or bad. So a good memory in my career, my very first trial was a DWI trial, driving while intoxicated. It was a young woman. She had previously had a DWI, but she was acquitted. So this was her second trial. And I was really nervous, really scared, but I said, I did mock trial at King Drew, so in high school, and then obviously after practicing for a little bit, I was ready and just had to be confident. I don't like to say fake it till you make it, but I think having that confidence and just being able to just use my words, use my just mind to bring home the win. And I did. So I was really nervous, but it went well. So that was a good memory. I mean, a lot of bad or just like the cases, talking to witnesses with really sad stories. I had a media case that it was actually pretty bad out. I'm not assigned to it anymore, but it was Floyd Mayweather's daughter. I was assigned, and it was just a lot going on between the complaining witness and then the fiance of Miss Mayweather that we had to deal with. So that was actually really bad. So I'm glad I'm no longer assigned to that one, but it was really rough in gathering evidence, having to communicate with the defense attorney. I had filed a couple of motions on the case, and then my family found out and saw I was on some, it's not the Shade Room. It was some like gossip Instagram website, and I kept getting sent that thing. That was really, really embarrassing. I didn't do anything wrong, but it was just, I didn't want people to know that I was assigned to that case.
So I was wondering, what entry level jobs do you suggest? Because I know law school is 3 years, and most of us will be like adults when we're going into law school, and we will need to like have some type of source of income. So what jobs do you suggest to do while in law school so you can still get some experience?
There's a lot of work that you can do at a law firm that is not law. So, for example, well, I've got to tell you right now, just recently, a friend of my youngest daughter, who is in no way a lawyer, I actually had her draft a complaint for me, and I paid her to do it. I had to supervise that process. I had to make sure she did it well and all of these other things. But I would say 3/4 of the work that is done in our law firm doesn't have to be done by an attorney. So you can work in a law firm, you can volunteer for some public interest law firms. And, but I have to say this is just my opinion, because another thing you can do is you can get involved too, depending on what you're interested in, political campaigns, in Black Lives Matters and things like that. But I would say the most important thing would be whatever you do, make sure you're doing it with a level of excellence so that later folks will, they'll remember you well, and they'll be able to give you letters of recommendation and things like that, because they're going to want to talk about your work ethic as much as anything. The creativity you brought to it, how hard you were working, whether or not you were on time, whether you were diligent, got along with folks, had a curious mind, initiative. People didn't have to ask you to do every single thing. You volunteered to do stuff. You came up with it. Wherever you can demonstrate those skills, then this is just a plus for you.
I agree. I don't really have anything to add to that. Working, interning somewhere where you can get the experience and network with the higher ups will look really great later.
Okay, so how was your journey through law school, like the admissions process, and what law school did you go to?
Well, like I said, I went to UCLA. Woo! It was pretty crazy back then. Almost all of the students of color, we had this letter D by our name for diversity. And they thought they were doing us a favor and gave us a separate little class to try to help us and all that. But it was kind of stigmatizing in my mind. Uh, law school was hard, and law school was just really grueling, and even, to be honest with you, boring at some times. But I just kept my eye on the prize. I had fun developing relationships with people. And so if you're studying something boring, but you're studying it with people that you like, that helps a lot. It really does. But I just can't lie to you. It was hard, and it just took perseverance. It just did. And some things in life do, kids. I mean, they just do. So, yeah, that's my story.
Agreed. I went to University of San Francisco. It was It was a rough time, very stressful the entire time. My first year, first semester, I had no idea what I was in store for. And we didn't have midterms, and I know some law schools, they do midterms, but we didn't have any. So in class, I did very well. We also didn't have any homework assignments, so I didn't know how well I was doing until grades came out after the final, when it was too late. And I realized, oh, I guess I really didn't know that concept as well as I thought I did, but it did well enough. I didn't have to repeat any courses or anything, but it was very rough. Life doesn't stop after. So mental health was a priority for me to make sure. I know self-care is a big thing now, but I did make sure that I wasn't fully engulfed in just school all the time. I had to carve out time for my family, carve out time for things that make me happy, food, certain shows, and just walking around the city. So, but it was very hard.
Yeah, and I have to say, you know, I met my husband in law school and I got married in law school, and we had our first child in law school. So that might have contributed to being hard too.
There were no cuties in law school.
Oh man, but again, you know, so right. It's hard, but life is still going on. And guess what? Let's say you have to do 3 hard years. Oh, I don't want to do 3 hard years. It's too hard. At the end of it, though, guess what? You are now an attorney. And if you don't do those 3 years, those years are going to pass anyway. They're going to pass either way. So they're either going to pass with you at the end of it, having gotten where you want to go, or they're going to pass who knows how. So, you know, I wouldn't be turned off by the length of time something takes, because time's going to pass anyway. It is.
So now I'm going to open it up to any students that have any questions. You guys can drop in the chat below. But while they're doing that, do you have any closing remarks or anything that you want to leave the students with, anything that you want them to think about? Because they are juniors, they're about to be applying to college, trying to get their career decisions together.
Let me just say, I thought about this, and one of the things that occurred to me is that a lot of times people talk about, oh, you need to have contacts and you need to meet people and you need to all of these things. But I have to say that I got into special education law from the realtor that was selling our house. The first attorney that I hired went to my church. The second attorney I hired, I knew her from somebody that I knew from Bible study. So when people say, oh yeah, I don't have the contacts, the contacts are in your life. They're in your daily life. And so if you can take a moment to be inquisitive, to be interested, and also to be your best self as you encounter all sorts of people, you are making contacts. You actually are. And you're going to be interested to see later on how many of those are going to be among your classmates even, you know? So again, you know, I think this is probably the 5th time I've said it. This is your life you're living, and it is important, and it is not separate from career decisions, college decisions. It's a whole. It's a whole. And I just want you to treat it as a precious thing.
That was beautiful. I was just going to say, don't get into this for the money. It is not worth it. There are going to be a lot of sleepless nights, especially in law school. So if you're wanting to go into law as a career, don't go into it thinking that you're going to make $1 million a year. Go into it with it being something that you're actually genuinely interested in. Otherwise, you're going to spend your life very miserable, and that I don't think that's beneficial for anybody, for
Or
you.
you end up before the state bar with your license suspended. You know, I mean, hey, a lot of money is going to come across your hands. And if your head is not right, then instead of going into your clients' pockets, you're going to be trained as a lawyer. You'll be able to rationalize all kinds of reasons why things are okay. So yeah, having your motives right going into it is so key. Kenisha, once when I was applying for the DA's office, one of the questions they asked was about evidence and coming across evidence, and what if it was, hurt your case, do you still turn it over? And of course the answer was, yeah, you do. You still turn it over because it's true. You just, you go not for the win, you're going for truth. And so again, your values, you're bringing them with you. And that's in any field, and your values are important, and it's a great time to start establishing what those are.
Oh, exactly. And and even if you choose whatever career, you don't have to stay in it at any point. Like, yes, we have a law degrees, but at any point we could decide to do something else. And it helps that you're an attorney. And let's say you want, as a DA now, so let's say I want to work for Twitter. I can work in a legal capacity or any other capacity because they're going to look at my overall experience. So don't feel like you have to choose your career now as a junior, because you don't have to. Things can change. You can decide your major later. You can change your major in college, but so don't feel pigeonholed. We did it. Y'all can do it too. It's not easy, but it's worth it. Sure. Do y'all have any?
Okay, thank you so much. I really enjoyed this interview. I'm sorry to cut you off. My Zoom just froze. But thank you so much. I really enjoyed this interview. If the students have any questions, you guys can unmute. And yeah, if not, you can follow the instructions of your teacher, whatever they ask.
Well, thank you, everybody. This was great, and good luck to everyone. Don't hesitate to reach out. We'll leave our information so that you can do that.
Yes, please reach out. No question is a stupid question, unless you're in law school. There are plenty of stupid questions, but y'all can ask anything. It's okay. Thank y'all.
So Zoom has made students very shy. Otherwise, they'd be clapping and being loud. But I know they're thanking you in the chat.
This was great.
Thank you so much for coming today.
You are very welcome. Very welcome. All righty.
Thank you, ladies, so much. It was so good to see you and to hear you. Amazing presentations. Kenisha, I still see you at King Drew. I still see your face. You look.
No, it's good for said the same thing.
I sent her a chat that said, "Oh my gosh, it's because." I said she looks the same, but it's how she speaks and her mannerisms are the same, except she's, professional, not in your King Drew uniform.
I got my jacket now.
Yes. It was really awesome. So good to see you. And we hope to have you again. And you will get a nice thank you from me. And students, feel free to put your thanks, if you'd like, in the chat, or unmute your microphones. We're happy to do that. And we thank you both very much. Thank you so much, Ms. McNair. And thank you so much, Ms. Day.
Thank you. All right, guys. Bye.